The morning had started like any other for Armin Halim, a tired but determined single father who had learned to function on little sleep and endless responsibility. Yet this particular day carried a strange heaviness, a weight he couldn't fully understand. It was still early, just past 9 a.m., when he rushed to get his son, little Rayhan, ready for school, his eyes burning with exhaustion from the hospital shift he had finished only hours before. The sun outside was bright, almost harsh, and daylight spilled into their small apartment like a spotlight exposing their quiet struggles. Armin tried to shake off the feeling that something unusual was waiting for him. He didn't know that his life would change in ways he never imagined and that it would begin with a mysterious knock on his door at 2 a.m. the following night. If you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to RW Insights right now. Your support truly keeps stories like this alive. Armin worked as a night cleaner in the administrative wing of a large corporate building, Globetech Enterprises, an environment filled with polished floors, glass walls, and people in suits who hardly noticed him. His boss, Mr. Sahil Varma, was the regional manager, a strict, serious man known for demanding perfection. Armin had only met him twice, but both times he spoke very little and carried an intimidating aura. Armin assumed a man like him lived a perfect life, wealthy, successful, surrounded by people. The truth, however, was far more complicated, but Armin didn't know that yet. The daytime hours felt like a blur of fatigue as Armin dropped Rayhan off at school and walked home under the hot sun, thinking about the increasing bills, the overdue rent, and the worry that he might lose his job because he had requested 2 days off for Rayhan's medical appointment. His son had asthma, a condition that required regular checkups, and Armin never complained, but every hospital visit drained his savings. As he tried to sleep that afternoon, sunlight cutting sharply across his small bedroom, his mind refused to rest. He feared the future, feared failing his son, and feared the possibility that life might push him beyond a breaking point. When he woke up early evening to prepare for his shift, he found Rayhan sitting on the floor drawing with broken crayons. Armin smiled, even though inside he felt like crying. His son's quiet strength always gave him courage, and without words, the two shared a moment that reminded Armin why he kept fighting. He cooked a simple meal, kissed Rayhan's forehead, and left him under the care of their elderly neighbor, Mrs. Kaleem, before heading to work. The city lights glowed warmly as the night deepened, and Armin whispered a silent prayer while boarding the bus. His shift passed normally, sweeping floors, wiping desks, emptying bins, tasks that required little thought but gave him moments to reflect. By the time he returned home around 1:30 a.m., the streets were silent, washed in pale moonlight, and he felt relief knowing Rayhan was asleep. He slipped inside quietly, drank water, washed his face, and thought he might finally get a few hours of rest. But fate had other plans. At exactly 2 a.m., a firm knock echoed through the hallway. Armin froze. No one ever visited at that hour. He slowly approached the door, heart pounding, and when he opened it, he nearly stumbled back in shock. Standing outside under the dim staircase light was Mr. Sahil Varma, his boss. Armin's breath caught. His first thought was fear. Had he done something wrong? Was he being fired? Why would a high-ranking manager show up at a poor worker's doorstep? He quickly straightened, embarrassed by his small, cluttered living room behind him. Before he could speak, Sahil took a deep breath, eyes tired, voice low, and asked if he could come in. Armin hesitated only a moment before stepping aside. Inside, the atmosphere shifted. The powerful manager who once walked hallways with authority now looked strangely fragile, almost lost. He sat on the worn sofa, gazing at the floor, and Armin could feel his hands shaking. After a long silence, Sahil finally spoke. He explained that he had been driving aimlessly for over an hour, unable to return home, unable to face the empty rooms of his large house. His wife had passed away 6 months earlier, and since then, loneliness had eaten at him like a shadow he couldn't escape. He said that earlier that day, he had reviewed Armin's leave request and discovered the medical reports attached for Rayhan's asthma. Something about the quiet strength in the application reminded him of the person he used to be before grief consumed him. Armin listened, stunned. He never expected that a man who seemed so composed carried such loss within him. As Sahil spoke, his voice broke, and for the first time, Armin saw not a boss but a human being drowning silently in pain. Daylight had begun to touch the sky outside, painting the early dawn in soft hues of gold and blue, when Sahil finally looked up and said he came not to reprimand but to apologize, for being distant, for assuming life was easier for people like Armin, and for forgetting that everyone carried unseen battles. He also said something that changed everything. He wanted to offer Armin a daytime position with better pay, allowing him to care for Rayhan without exhausting himself every night. Armin felt tears rise instantly. He hadn't expected help, hadn't dared hope for such kindness. It felt like a miracle arriving at the most unexpected hour. But the moment became even more emotional when little Rayhan sleepily walked out of his room, rubbing his eyes, and quietly approached Sahil. The boy placed his small hand on the grieving man's knee and simply said, "It's okay to be sad." That simple, innocent sentence broke something inside Sahil. He gently pulled the boy into a hug, his shoulders shaking, and Armin felt his own heart swell with a mix of gratitude and compassion. The morning sun was now shining fully into the room, warm and bright, as if blessing this new beginning. If this moment touched your heart, please like, comment, and share the video, and don't forget to subscribe to RW Insights for more powerful real-life stories. Your engagement means the world. Special request, comment "I believe in hope" if this story moved you even a little. In the end, Armin accepted the new position, and life slowly began to change. He could finally sleep during the nights, support his son better, and experience moments of peace he hadn't known in years. And as for Sahil, he started visiting now and then, not as a boss, but as someone who had found a piece of healing in the kindness of a small family. Together, in the warmth of daylight and the quiet strength of shared struggles, two broken lives unknowingly helped mend each other, proving that sometimes, the deepest miracles appear in the simplest human connections.